Devin, captivated by murals at the age of 9, you've always had art, imagination, and creativity in your life. Not until you were 25, you began openly sharing your art. Fast forward to now, you're killing it in all things mural art, from residential and commercial. You have created pieces for Loggerhead Marine Life Center, Pump House Poratorium, Golden Juicery, Papa Kwan's, and a whole lot more. Even recently, Candid Coffee. So obviously you are very creative, and being the incredible artist that you are, have you always had this creative courage?
I've always had the creative drive, but the courage was definitely like a later in life kind of thing. But my mom is super creative. So any school project, like right now, my stepson is getting into the age of school projects. And I'm like, yes, let's go. So we were studying, my sixth grade English teacher was like obsessed with Greek mythology, right? So we built a Colosseum, my mother and I, and it was just, I mean, you pulled out parts to get to the aqueducts. We like faux finished it. And it was only like this big, but it was like insane, above, beyond, whatnot. And then we had an invention fair. My mom has always been very like form over function, and I still to this day live that way. We made decorative smoke alarms. So we like took, I guess like what's like the beautiful mounting that you put around a chandelier. We took one of those, faux finished it, put a smoke detector in it, hid it. We did like four of them, four different ones. We're like, yeah, invention fair. I don't care about your engineering for the sake of like progress of humanity. I like beautiful stuff. So she always guided the way with that. And we lived in this home that was built in 1890.
Was that down in Florida?
That was in Illinois.
Okay.
Super cool town. Like they have this thing called a tour of homes where like you get to go in all these like funky old houses and see how everyone's decorating them and whatnot. And at that point, we're like gold leafing our ceiling. Everything had to be authentic, not functional at all. Like four of the rooms you don't even actively live in. Find the carpenter who did the woodwork, go thank his great grandson and whatever, like shit like that.
Yeah.
And so she had a mural artist come into my bedroom when I was at school and paint these lilac colored flowers all over my windows, and just trying to be like, who is this lady? Like, who painted this?
There's like a mystery
yes,
with you that you're
like
trying to...
I was obsessed with the woman more than the mural, because I'm just like, what is this magic life? And I think she actually owned like a floral shop in the little downtown area. And so I got to like, we would always go in there and whatever, but just like purely obsessed with making things beautiful. My mom's a big fan, always guided me that way, but kind of lived like 10 different lives in my life. So
were they all kind of art related?
no, not at all. So I got to a point where I was like, I'm just going to ride a motorcycle every day and be super into that and skydive and whatever. Then I was a rugby player. I started at Jupiter High School playing rugby.
Okay.
Prior to that, volleyball was life, but I hated the volleyball culture. Like I was like, dude, like screw this.
You just
like,
want to hit somebody.
Okay, so that was the problem, is that like as I got more into my teenage years, I was like, this is very fun, but like I had like aggression.
Okay.
And so I'm playing soccer, and next thing you know, I'm like getting in trouble for like slide tackling people.
You could sneeze
and, like,
on somebody playing soccer, and then you get carded.
and like I don't know, I had a lot of angst, right? So we moved to Florida. This is right when I was 16, almost 17, never like made a U-turn driving in my life or anything. Like I grew up in a tiny, tiny town. So moved down here, just got my license, which, side note, they don't make you take a driver's test in Illinois.
They just give them to you,
In
or you do something on test?
You do driver's ed in school during your like homeroom period. And then once you get a C or above in that, you get to just go get your license. Meanwhile, my family kept coming to Florida because they wanted to move down here. So
Right.
I missed like so much school. And my driver's ed teacher was like, it's okay, Devin. I'm like, I don't fucking know how to drive. So now, like, but then, eventually get a motorcycle. I only drive a stick shift, whatever. It was almost like a late in life challenge of like, let's learn how to really drive. But anyway, so we moved to Florida. I had been in theater, was super active in theater, playing a lot of volleyball. Moved down here. I was like, I just finally made like my tribe of friends that I care about, but sure, let's move to Florida. And so I started painting just because I was like too fucking scared to drive around. Like, what is this place? Why do I have to? Why is everything at a plaza? Like, you don't eat at a restaurant in a plaza anywhere in middle America. If there is a restaurant in a plaza, do not go there. But here, everything is a plaza. I was like, this is the strangest
Everything's
thing.
a mini mall.
So weird. So I started playing rugby and was like fully obsessed. I was like, this was what I was made to do. And was playing for Jupiter High School, ended up playing for FAU, then a Miami team. And
When you went to college, though, to play, what were you studying?
Okay, so I didn't even go to FAU. They just put me on their team.
Oh, nice.
So, and it's such a, I went to Palm Beach State and
Go Panthers.
I like Panthers. They, it got to the point where they're like, hey, you need to like graduate, because I had taken so many classes, because I
wow.
just was like, yo, botany, let me get it. Like American social problems, I'm into it. Like, can I take it twice and whatever? So I finally I graduated with my AA. It's not a big deal, but I just was in it to be there. So I'm playing at FAU, going to Palm Beach State. I was the captain of Florida All-Stars rugby, and then started playing for USA South, which is like ultimately terrifying. Like they call people from the South very small. Like, we're just a lot smaller than some of these other like regional teams and whatnot. And next thing you know, you've got a bunch of French Canadians that you're playing against. You're like, I am so tiny compared to you. But so, super angsty, played that, whatever. Kind of.
Did you get any injuries or anything kind of
Okay.
scary?
So yeah, it's interesting because at like one point, I'm very competitive, but I was like, dude, the joy in this is kind of gone, because it was like, you get so competitive that you're like, I am like living for this. And once you get to that upper level, you're not going to win every game. The volleyball team I was on, we fucking crushed it. The Jupiter High School of Rugby, FAU, all those, we crushed it. And I got to a point where I was like, we're not crushing it. I'm getting crushed. I ended up in like Broward ER for, a rotator cuff injury. And that, it's just, long story short, I was like, okay, I think I'm done. Like, I think I'm done with this.
Was that your moment, kind of being in the hospital and you're just like, I got to do something else, or
realizing that
focus on something else?
and also like, my health insurance wasn't active. My parents just kind of let that go, not to like throw them under the bus, but, then telling my team, like, I'm sorry, I have not been insured when you like legally have to be and whatnot, and being in Broward Medical ER. I was like, dude, fuck this. I'm done. But I was 19 and I was like, dude, I don't have time to be in Miami 3 days a week to play rugby and whatnot. There's not a lot of forward momentum professionally with it. So then, side note, I had another pretty crazy like health scare and got super into herbalism. So started going to herbal conferences all across Florida, different like farming workshops. And after that coffee, you know.
Oh, that coffee hits.
It's like, you know, Pump House, you guys
That
rock.
coffee hits.
So, got super into herbalism, obsessed, and just like chased that around, traveled around for that and whatnot. Then started taking herbalist classes, ended up getting into Florida environmental history, super dug into that, and then was like, oh, I should get back to like, I started traveling like crazy. Like, let's go to 9 countries. Let's go. Let's do it. Whatever. And each
Was
trip.
that just kind of like out of the whim, off a whim sort of thing? Just like, I want to start traveling and you start picking places and going for it?
Yeah, and my sister had a lot to do with it. So I'm about to be 32. My sister is 22, 23. Fuck, don't be mad at me, Sydney. I love you so much. And she had just gotten out of high school, graduated very early, and was like, I'm just going to go fuck off in Europe for like whatever. Just youngest of the family, didn't have that like, I know what I want to do. And I was like, okay, cool, let's go. So first couple trips were with her. And if I would go to the nightclub with her, she would go to the Natural History Museum with me, do a crazy hike with me. And then she would be like, okay, well, we have to go to this cute little brunch thing. I'm like, all right, fine. So I get back from our first trip and I'm like, I took all these photos. I'm like, these prickly pear cactuses are bigger than anything I've ever seen. And it like was this epiphany of a moment where it's like, I can paint based off of my travels. Like, this is my way to get back into painting again, because there were so many years where I would still do creative ventures, but like I don't know. I pick a new thing I'm into for like 8 months and go, and then like
And
totally.
as you were kind of like riding motorcycles, crushing it in rugby, taking every class at Palm Beach State that's
Yeah, like
possible,
just
did you have any sort of just kind of fire in you where you're just like, all I want to do is just kind of chill and paint?
no, I don't know. There was just like this innate need to like release energy and do like physical, like very
Right. Okay.
physical
Yeah.
based at that time. And
Seeing what you do now, it's starting.
opposite.
Well, it's starting to click a little bit. I mean, seeing you on a freaking lift in the middle of the heat, just crushing it, just
And this is why
going to
people,
town.
they're like, you work so hard. I'm like, I don't know how not to. I also really like to eat like egg sandwiches in bed. So like gotta earn it kind of thing. But
What'd you say before we started this? You like the sloth?
I sloth hard.
Sloth hard,
I
you
work
sloth
really
hard.
hard so I can sloth really hard. Like it took you 3 weeks to get to that show. I watched it in a day, like kind of thing. So
But you're seeing the cactus, and then you're just kind of feeling that inspiration of art, just kind of
I was
through.
everything had a purpose.
Okay, yeah.
So like not everything I did was like really fun and cool. And like the herbalism definitely had more of a purpose, the history stuff, all that, right? But art is what has given everything that I do have now as a hobby or a passion or a weird thing that I enjoy. Art is an all-encompassing bucket to throw it into. So then I was like, okay, I am super into vivid colors, cool textiles. I love pattern work. So I was like, let's go to Central America. Go to Costa Rica, El Salvador.
So were you starting kind of playing your trips kind of around the inspiration that's growing and growing and
Yes.
growing? That's so sick.
Yes. Okay. So like still haven't been to Mexico, but like super obsessed with Lady Guadalupe. And she's still pretty relevant in Guatemala. So I was like, all right, let's go. I'm doing all these museums. I have a friend who works for like the EPA version of Guatemala who does like water solubility and stuff. And so he took me hiking on this volcano in the middle of the night. The volcano erupts every 10 minutes. Normally you have like a group of 200 people and it's a huge tour. It's like just him and I going up this volcano. I'm like, yes, this is a moment. So then I would always have a notebook and I would have like, I want to see this plant in person. I want to see this. So I'm in El Salvador and I see a ceiba tree for the first time in my life. And I'm just like fucking crying. I'm like, oh my God, I never thought I would see this tree. Like this tree is everything to me.
It's so weird because when I was in California seeing like redwoods for the first time, like a nice redwood tree, I was just
Emotional.
like, this is insane. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a palm tree.
No,
It's not an oak tree.
it's not a golf course with more trees than
Exactly,
anywhere
yeah.
else, but my sidewalk has no shade.
It's something beautiful, but sorry. No,
No, don't
Yeah.
be sorry. I tangent, man. You're fine. So it essentially now, so I go on all these trips. I meet my now husband and he sees my apartment, live by myself. Once again, form over function at any point in time. No TV, record player, easels, like bookshelves, whatever. I don't have a microwave, like what? And he's just like, God, like, can I get a clip for this bag of chips? I'm like, no, that shit's ugly. Like, whatever. So he comes into my apartment and it's, do you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I've seen like the best, like my favorite episodes, like the cannibalism one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but not enough. No.
Okay. So there's the iconic episode to me is when they work at the post office and it's truly like, Charlie, he's got all of the photos of everything, like a CIA.
Is it the famous meme when he's like doing that,
Yes.
doing that?
Yes, and he's
Okay.
like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
There's like 5 cigarettes out of his mouth. He's like, "Wow, look." So that was essentially what my kitchen looked like with pictures from Guatemala
Oh
and
my
El Salvador. Like it was kind of insane. And I turned my whole small eating space into my studio, right? So I was working on this Lady Guadalupe triptych painting, all these photos strewn everywhere. And at that time, I was like, I'm going to be a firefighter. I'm going to do that. Like, I want to be the baddest form of me. And the juxtaposition of the two parts of me obviously are pretty conflicting, right? I'm like, I ran 7 miles because I wanted to. Now let's like go explore the history of this weird seed pod that came from South America. Like, they don't fit. So my husband was like, please do, or casual, not casual. I don't think we were ever casual. Like we kind of knew from the moment, but just like we're boyfriend, girlfriend.
Right.
And he's like, please don't do this. Like I was about to sign up for school. I had people like who had my back, who were going to get me in on certain, just knowing the right people.
Right.
And he's like, don't, like, I'm begging you, please live your one weird life. Like, I'm here for it. And I was like, fuck. Who like looks at like, he knew I was going to be his wife one day.
Yeah.
Who's like, yo, fuck the 401k, take the financial instability for a while. Like, just do it. And that moment was really cool. Like, really, really cool. So then, I started my business during COVID, during quarantine. I was like, okay, let's get an iPad before the world shuts down, and let's like learn everything, and let's do it. Let's figure out. And I never thought I would be a mural artist.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I want to paint canvases. I want to work from home. Sounds like so cool. Let's listen to podcasts and just chill. And apparently I'm a muralist.
So the part where your husband was like, do this, go full-fledged into this world of the weird, wacky art, full speed ahead. From there, did you kind of plan more trips kind of for inspiration, or did you kind of go right into kind of the business realm, and that's kind of the COVID timeline?
Yes. So once I met my husband, I was like, yo, this is a good person. I need to like chill the fuck out, not find myself on a boat in Costa Rica with people I don't know kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's a father. So I also was like, okay, there's this just like new level of responsibility and balance, just balance that I need to find. But on our first date, I made him book a trip to New York with me because I was like, yo, let's find out if this is going to work right now. So we went to New York. We went and saw Beetlejuice on Broadway. We went to a football game for him. We went to the Natural History Museum. We went to Lake George, whatever. And that's when I realized I was like, this guy's my person, because within a 5-day trip, we did like 13 things.
And had so much fun.
And I was like, oh, you can go? You can go with life? Then like, we're good. So we got back from New York, and I mean, we just went to Spain together and with my brother and sister. But other than that, like the travel's been very, very minimal. Mm-hmm. COVID stuff, like we had stuff planned. It would get canceled, whatever. Business started picking up.
Right.
And it was like, yo, this is what you got to do. I mean, as an entrepreneur, if you're taking mad vacations, you're not.
Where's the work really happening?
Right. And I have to stop taking clients like a month before I travel, because it's a long process to plan out these murals and stuff. So it's like, I just got married. It's like, take a month and a half off for that. Then it's like, oh, you're going to go to Spain, take a month. And I can't.
So what brought you to start doing murals in general? I mean, instead of just kind of like the typical stumbling on canvas, you sell that at a market or just kind of sell that. How did you kind of get into the mural game?
I totally thought I'd be like a green market person for sure. Like, selling canvases at pop-ups and whatnot. So I had always painted, like I'm the greatest renter in the world because I will never bother you, but I will also paint every fucking wall that you're renting to me.
I mean, I could see it from here because we are actually in one of your creations.
My favorite one.
Something nice and private, but this is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, it's my favorite. So I will even like paint the like cement patio of an apartment. I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. So I started like doing that, posting pictures of it, whatever the process. And people were like, oh my God, will you do a mural for this, for that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like whatever. And like, I did take some art in college, and one of my professors to this day is my mentor. So a lot of the fine art stuff that I know, I was just applying large scale, and still was just expecting to just do whatever it took. But I guess people always say that the business that you think that you're starting, if you're still trying to run that same business, like you're doing the wrong thing. Like your business will always just like follow it wherever it goes. Right. And I was like making flower crowns because of course I love to wear ridiculous flowers in my hair and just be ridiculous in Juno Beach. Like no big deal. And the mural stuff took off. And then like I was doing some murals, mostly people I knew.
So you just had your hands in a bunch of different pots, like in just around art and paint. I mean, you have paint on you right now.
No, like legit. I was like, oh, I gotta go to the studio, gotta do this, drop off a print. Oh, well, like here we are. And what's funny is that normally I would just wear my Devin Noel design shirts. Mm-hmm. Today's the first day I've paired this shirt with these jeans, and I realize I have a very fluid color palette. I'm like, yo, they match. At least I'm consistent. But so then one of my friends who's a photographer, she's like, hey, I need your info. And I was like, you're texting me. You have my info. She's like, no, my dad works for Pepsi. They want a mural. You're going to get a consultation with them. And I was like, no, like, no way. Like no. And I had done
No,
like
no way in the sense of just like I'm not ready for
so
that, or
scared.
just okay.
I mean, who thinks they're ready for like any of it? Like
Yeah.
now as like a seasoned, barely entrepreneur, if you're not ready for it, it's the time to do it.
Yeah, so
If
that's
it,
where kind of like, because meeting you for the first time, you've had all this energy. I mean, positivity is such an overused word at this point because everything is so positive, this, positive, that, positive, that. But your energy was just uplifting. And then also finding out that you were just doing a mural outside in the dead heat for just X amount of hours. I'm like, I don't understand.
I love carbs, so I need to earn them, like go, go, go. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, like love
So
being
I
happy.
feel like you've always had like this forward energy. So I mean, from kind of looking back and just you've doing a million different things, though, you always kind of had the sense of courage. So for me to hear that you're
that
like,
I don't
do
think
this sort of
I
thing.
do.
Yeah.
Right? Like the opening to the question, I'm like, I've been creative, have not had the courage, and it's like, oh shit. I mean, I guess.
So when you had kind of like this big not wake up moment, but like this big moment where like, hey, here's a great opportunity in front of you. Is that where kind of the courage really kind of started to kind of pinpoint into a direction?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even just like figuring out the background noise of being a creative business owner, like invoicing, how to propose a mural, how to like land the mural, the
oh my God,
contract, writing your own
yeah.
fucking contract, like not screwing yourself, like whatever, showing great visual examples for a client, like communicating that, setting boundaries. Like I realized I did not set boundaries at all in any prior career or job that I had. And like, I was like, this is taking a toll personally, has taken a toll personally because of lack of job boundaries. And now that whatever like personal problem you have will become a business problem.
Yeah.
If you suck about talking about money and communicating about it, guess what? Have fun trying to like tell your clients what the worth of the work is.
Yeah.
So just trying to like really self-reflect and figure out like, how do I pivot this in the right way?
Did you have a little bit of that understanding when kind of being approached with Pepsi?
Fuck no. No. Okay. So like just had not mastered, but figured out how to use Procreate, figured out how to like use a projector to show them, like super big fan of visuals and having people have this creative experience where they're like, no questions are left unanswered. So it's just like ultimate communication the whole way through. So I go to this consultation and they're like, yeah, we're thinking that wall. And I was like, yeah, that wall has stairs. I'm going to have to put scaffolding like all through that staircase for weeks. I want to do that wall. And that wall was like 4 times bigger.
Yeah.
And they're like, how about just half the wall? It's like, I really want the whole wall. And they're like, okay.
Damn.
All right, cool. And I had already, something I will never do for clients anymore, I had already drawn prior to going. Because I wanted like a strong visual just to like get that pitch for the job like in.
Why
right?
is that something you wouldn't do anymore?
Now, because I've done so many things where like somebody be like, hey, I really want a mural for this. Here's my inspiration. I'm like, yeah, I love that bird. I'm going to start drawing now. And then they fucking ghost you.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, I love that. Like it hurts.
Yeah.
Like it like emotionally hurts because you're like, I loved what I was going to do for you. And it never gets made.
That's why creatives, I mean, we pour so much into our craft and what we do and just having that connection too, but also it's a business,
right?
Too, and there has to have that little bit of like separation and not to, like I mean it's been a work in progress, but I used to take things so personally,
right?
So personally, but and even being able to look back at myself and just instead of cringing at everything, but I'm like, oh, you know what? That's growth,
right?
I'm not there anymore. I'm here where I am today.
It's like every couple months I go, I thought I learned enough lessons this year. It's like constant, but it's great because I always do want to be having forward momentum, whether it's like self-confidence, just better business ethics or whatnot. But so yeah, I drew stuff for Pepsi prior to. Don't do it anymore. I do a drawing fee that goes towards their mural balance unless a client cancels. So it just like covers my time to watch Wes Anderson movies as inspiration while I'm drawing trees and plants and whatnot. It's kind of cool. Anyway.
So they took that whole wall though?
Oh, I got the whole wall. Second time on a scissor lift. I would call my husband to come down on his work break because I was too scared to drive the scissor lift. By the end of the mural, I was parallel parking that bitch under a stairwell. Everything's so cool. But that job, I just was like, I am not qualified. Even just saying the number of what I was going to charge for that job, I was like, I literally want to vomit. it was scary. But I've done 2 jobs for Pepsi now, which is funny because the first one was like no questions asked. They were like, we will do whatever it takes. This is amazing, right? Second job, they're like, yeah, I heard you were really expensive. And I'm like, you're fucking Pepsi. Are you? And I'm not. I am, but I'm not. Like, you're not even paying for a hotel or anything. If you were to fly somebody in,
Oh my God.
imagine that.
Yeah.
You're lucky I'm local. You're within my 17-mile non-travel fee that I charge.
Yeah.
So second job for them was super. They're always like, whatever I would send to them right off the bat, they would be like, amazing. No edits, no questions asked, whatever. So I was like, oh shit, this is kind of cool. Now, after working with a few other corporations, I'm like, swear to God, this is proof number 46. So,
How do you deal with that relationship too? Because I mean, even thinking about it from like a photographer's standpoint with like revisions, talk to the client. I mean, I know everyone kind of approaches it differently, but like how much of your creative freedom and your uniqueness and also kind of with the client's vision?
I get pretty lucky a lot where I'm like, yes, you picked my favorite one or what, because I'll give a scale range. Right. Some clients have to like kind of pull me back a little. They're like, I love it, but maybe not so whoo. And I'm like, okay, no, totally fine. We like modernity, not a big deal. Like we can do that. I just I really like loud, big, beautiful, ridiculous art. I mean, whatever. So in the beginning, there were a couple murals that I just was not ecstatic about, but also on a design perspective, like even when you're doing like logo design, you're like, this one's it. They picked the one that you're like, that was the one that I had leftover components from building this logo and was like, oh, we can smash this one together. Here you go. Here's another option. And then they picked that one. You're like, wait, why am I putting out renderings that I don't love and giving them the option to pick that? Yeah. But I also want them to have like a catalog of things to look from. But I get pretty lucky where people know why they're calling me, you know, like, my dentist once, he's such a nerd and I love him. Like the equipment he uses is ridiculous. Right. And I was like, dude, it's like a sci-fi movie in here. I'm obsessed. And I was like, do you want a mural? And he's like, please paint whatever you want. So, cause it's a brand new office, right? So I go in a few weeks later and they have this oil painting of toucans up and I was like, yes, I love this. I love birds. And so later on that day, my dentist calls me and they're like, hey, Devin, one of our clients came in. She fucking hates the toucan painting. So we, you know, knowing that you're going to do a mural, we just want to show her your work and how it'll really show her like what we're going to do. And I was like, do not show her my, her name was Marianne. I was like, do not show Marianne my Instagram. It's like 6 birds painted at everything on the grid was all birds. I was like, she's going to hate it. Or whatever. So it's
that's the thing. It's almost like assuming like, does she just hate birds? Does she hate my work? Does she hate me?
Right.
What am I supposed to do?
Some people really don't like birds, man. I don't get it.
I'm not gonna lie. Some of the bird sort of aesthetic I don't really get, but the way you do it is so tasteful and it really just kind of encompasses the whole creation of everything. So that's why like asking like where you get your inspiration from, the fact that you've traveled so much and seen so much of the world too makes so much sense. But on that topic, is there any like is there famous artists or any sort of like music? What other like pools of inspiration do you gravitate towards?
Okay, so yes, predominantly though, most of the inspiration comes from like weird naturalist facts. Like I'll be like condors, the pH of their skin is super acidic because their beak actually isn't that strong. So they have to dig their whole head to like remove parts of an animal. And so that means like this and up is inside of the animal. So their skin's super acidic. So they're not getting like these fungal and microbe infections and whatnot. So I'm like, I'm obsessed with condors, must paint a condor. And even like Guatemala's first form of currency was the feather from the quetzal bird. And that today their currency is still named after that. And like seeing that bird, I'm like, I'm so obsessed. I must paint it. So like I'll find out a bunch of weird facts about animals. And I'm like, I have to paint this animal. Did you know blah, blah, blah? My client's like, yeah, okay, thank you. I just really want my living room back. And I'm like,
I was just about to ask, like, you're like so much energy, effort, information, passion, and then someone's like, I just want the
yeah.
bird to do this thing. You get that a lot too.
Yeah. So like a lot of people are nice to me, man. I'm super lucky. Like one of my last clients, we did these like big, beautiful storks in her entryway, and she calls that room her Hermes box. Is that how you say that, designer? Hermes?
Maze box
They like Hermes, Hermes. I don't, the designer, right? So their packaging is this iconic burnt orange packaging. And so I'm painting this mural, and she calls that room like after that designer because it just has a similar aesthetic. And I was like, did you know that World War One there was a shortage? So Hermes initially had blue packaging. They had to move to cream, and then another shortage. Then they moved to yellow, another shortage. Then they moved to orange, and orange is what made them super freaking famous. And orange is the color of royalty in Belgium. And she's like, I love you. And I was like, I love you. Thank you for letting me say this to you. And like, you're authentically interested. So a lot of it's like weird little research tidbits. Like I'll just be like, hey, where's the bottle of wine? You want to research some weird things like today? And my husband gets up. He's like, all right, tell me what we've learned.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
It is pretty fun. But artist wise, like, okay, so I went to the Prado Museum in Madrid, Spain this year. And that was like something I always had to do. And so that was like one of those pinch me moments, like, holy crap, my life is pretty darn cool. And it's hard to say that sometimes if you're like, oh, and it's like, no, it's like really cool. Like I'm like in my favorite place. I've always wanted to go to Spain. I would never go until I met the love of my life. And then like I meet Steve. I'm like, hey, let's go to Spain,
Now
right?
we gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta go. So we're in Madrid. We're at this museum. And Hieronymus Bosch, Garden of Earthly Delights, is my favorite painting ever. Have you ever seen it?
No.
Okay, it's a 3-piece triptych panel. When it's closed, it is just Earth. When it's open, it's the creation of humans, and then the sin, and then the aftermath.
Oh wow.
So very like pastel color, Adam and Eve, skinny little panel. Middle, getting real wonky. We've got like crazy water fountains. We've got like people riding weird fruits on like these like troops of like, gets like pretty sexual, pretty strange, pretty gluttonous. This thing was painted, I think 1502 or 1506. I can't remember. Third panel, just like all hell is broken loose. Weird creatures are eating humans. There are smokestacks and artificial light from skyscrapers in the painting. Like this guy he knew. So we're there, we're seeing it in person. I'm just like melting, crying. So then we're walking around, and across the gallery, there was cobalt blue, like real cobalt blue pigment being used. And I was like running towards it. Like, this blue is insane, right? And while we're there, I'm telling my husband, I'm like, all right, so ultramarine blue has nothing to do with the color. It's because it had to be shipped from Afghanistan.
Is he an artist at all too, or just someone
learning.
who just appreciates it a lot?
He's super creative brained. Like sometimes he comes up with ideas for murals, and I'm like, God, you're my man. Like he's learning how to paint. He's getting better with like each job.
Yeah, because I've seen him helping you with some jobs. And
yeah, no, he's rocking it. Just a creative in general, but not an artist.
I try like that with my wife, and I'm like with music history and stuff too. I'm like, all right, no, I'm losing you. Okay,
Yeah,
no,
you're
back. I'm
like,
like, oh my gosh,
do
that's
you
a
need
good
a piece
question.
of bread to keep listening? Please just keep listening.
Well, I'm just like, it's more of me just like pounding the information to death.
Yeah. Well, and almost like telling somebody helps really put it in the memory bank.
That's how I learn a little bit too.
Me too.
Just like almost like teaching somebody, or just like explaining it to myself, sort of thing. But that's crazy. So I'm going to talk to my wife.
Yeah, dude, they're such patient people. He's a good person. So I see this cobalt blue. I'm like running across Fra Angelico. Never had heard of him, seen his work. I'm obsessed with him now. Like seeing this stuff in person, I was like, this is insanity. Did the Antonio Gaudi museums, all of his stuff. I was like, dude, you're incredible. The Salvador Dali Museum in St. Pete, Florida is awesome.
Oh, wow.
It's super cool. It's the second largest collection in the world. I think France has the first largest collection, but that museum is just real good. But musicians, So I do a fun thing with music to pair with my with painting. So when I do a mural, I will only play a certain album on repeat because especially if it's a mural we know we're going to add on to like down the road or something for like budget needs or growth needs or whatever it is.
What did you listen to when you did Candid Coffee? That's like one of my new favorite murals that you've done. That
Really?
was so fun.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, thank you. That one is just the color palette and I mean, they're really
Just the people that you did in like the little
Yeah.
floaties too gave them so much personality. But
gosh.
just like I like that blue that you used too. I don't know. It was just it was just something very three-dimensional.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a collaborative of the bakery and Candid Coffee. And I
Okay.
was like, oh my gosh, your colors vibe so well together. They're just like really good people. If like you're a really nice person, I'm gonna give you everything I got. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So thank you. That was a super fun one. Inspiration. Oh, so what did I
Yeah,
Okay.
how'd you prep for
All
that
right.
one? Yeah.
So Candid Coffee, I listened to the Rent soundtrack the whole time. I love Rent. I love it. I don't know. I was feeling like extra jivey and whatnot. My stepson was there with me the whole time and he's like playing his video games and he's getting all animated about it. And I'm like, I'm all animated about Rent. But so I listened to that for most of it. Couple podcasts in between and whatnot. But especially if I know I'm gonna potentially add on to a mural.
Okay.
Like the Black and Gray Peony mural, I listened only to Grimes' one album when I did it. She ended up adding more. I put that same album on 6 months later. I knew
that's
what
cool.
to do, just intuitively.
Yeah.
I was like, I moved the brush like this way to get that shading and whatnot. Because sometimes I'll jump in between different kinds of paint. Some are just thicker, goopier than others and whatnot. So it's like, oh yeah, I got to
Making me
thin this out.
examine your work now
Oh,
a little bit.
I love this thing so much. But I do a strange thing with music where like if I have a musician I love, I will save one album where I will not listen to it. So when
I have that discipline too sometimes where I'm like, I don't want to do this to myself. So I don't want to just overdo anything that's so
Right.
enjoyable. So I'm like, I even have that relationship when I'm like learning certain songs
Okay.
too with music. I'm like, if I learn it, I'm going to play it out as a gigging musician so much. And then when I play it out, I'm going to be playing it for this much. And it's going to be such a different relationship with the song too. So I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
just going to put that to the side.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's so my favorite band is the Mamas and Papas.
Okay.
There is an album to this day that I will not touch because we're young. What happens when life throws a crisis at us and it's like all the music I love and I've cried to it so many times it just really doesn't make me cry anymore. Like I save certain things so when it's like I really need something, I
Yeah.
have that album Forrest Gump I watched for the first time like 8 months ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just saved it. I was like, I need a good cry.
I think I saw that movie for the first time not too long ago either. It was like one of those classic movies like I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, like what's wrong with
It's like
me?
no one's looking. Okay, well, I gotta watch it myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My husband was like, "Are you kidding me? I thought you were miscultured." I was like, sorry. So, yeah, the relationship with like music, movies, like inspirations everywhere when you're a creative,
Right.
like even just from like merely a perspective of looking at oh god, this is kind of mean. Okay, like I went to Patty Max for the first time a few months ago and I was like, "What the fuck? Why do you have 4 different fonts just on your plaza? Love a good plaza restaurant."
Yeah, you love those plazas.
I love them. On their plaza like sign, I was like, I don't know. I had a few cocktails and it's like Steve's driving away and I'm like, no, stop. And I get out of the car because I have to take a picture
Yeah.
of this sign. I'm like, this is just horrendous, right? But like going through the world, looking at everything as a point of design, it makes me accept capitalism a little bit more. Like going into Macy's, I'm like, look at how beautiful all of this product packaging
Right.
is and whatever, even though it's like, this is wasteful, this is terrible, like whatever, it still does breed innovation. It gives all of us designers
It's funny
like,
that you mentioned that too, because I mean, like going to Sephora or going to Ulta, is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So like going in there with my wife, looking at the branding, looking at the product photography, looking at just kind of the models, how they're posed a certain way to
Right.
articulate certain parts of their body to show the product as well. Then also kind of seeing the attention of the consumers.
Yes.
Of like what they're looking at, how they're looking at, then also like all the little building blocks. Instead of just being like, all right, I'm buying nothing here, so what am I doing here?
we're entertained
Yeah.
anywhere we go.
Yeah.
Everything is a point of like production. like every single thing. And I mean, I think that goes back into everything just being thrown into the artist bucket. Like everything is all encompassed into artist bucket. Like you can go to Ulta and you're like, all right, I understand why that lady's looking at that one and you're looking at that one.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's fun to like think this way.
Yeah.
And my husband has started to think this way too, where he's like, yo, check out that font. And I'm like, I know, and whatever. And so it's really cool to watch somebody else who wasn't prone to that way of thinking kind of go that way. And I'm like,
on their own too.
yes.
Yeah, it's the part of the creative brain that everybody has. It's just a muscle. The more that you exercise it,
For real.
and
Yes.
just take those steps a little bit too. So instead of kind of like mentally preparing for a big mural, how do you physically prepare for a big mural? Because seeing you work at the Pump House Poratorium, being outside too, and then just crushing it in the heat and just being on your feet doing this, doing that, and then later seeing you at a private event still standing with an espresso martini, just be like, I haven't slept in I don't know. And I'm
my
like,
God.
oh God, girl.
I look at back at like a lot of people were checking in on me during that mural.
Wearing space helmets and just
I
dancing
know,
in the middle of the road.
I had to. So I look back at any text that I sent to somebody at that time and I'm like,
Loopy.
fucking weird. So weird. I mean, there was one point where we used a Graco paint sprayer and it's so like for anybody who hasn't seen the mural, it's 30 feet high, definitely a signage mural, corrugated metal. Let's paint some letters on it. Like great. It was a huge challenge, middle of summer, right? Super stoked on it because we're on a boom lift for the first time. And this is kind of funny how I prep for murals. So we had to go down there like 1,000 times prior to the mural because I'm like, I still just want to check how many feet away the power line is. And he's like, it's about this far. I'm like, I don't care. Could you go touch it for me and tell me how it feels? Like what? And I'm making my husband get on like ladders that he should not be on just to get to the ledge because I want to see how a 6'1" human looks comparatively to the rest of the wall for like letter sizing and stuff, right? Because there had to be a lot of like math and a lot of this, but this one was very get the math done because we're going to get some stencils made. We're going to get some things made just for like productivity purposes, right? And now I'm kind of at the point where like our friend Matt owns the graphic shop. And so I'm like, all right, how do I better fuel into the local economy? I could do that by hand, but let's give Matt some business instead. Let's get this person's on this and whatever, right? So I'm like priming this pump for our paint sprayer and it's runs off DeWalt 60-volt batteries.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And it's airless, so no compressor or anything. And it would be like Steve and Evan, my friend Big Bear, who's on the job with us, up in the boom and the 50-foot hose. So everything's on the ground.
Yeah.
They're just up there with the hose, like spraying and whatever. And I'd be like priming the pump and I'm like, I don't remember what I'm doing. I'm like, just whatever. But so food prep, obviously a big part of it. My stepson now makes me juices. And so he'll make me like a giant thing or my husband of cantaloupe juice. And they're like, here,
awesome.
I love fruit.
Yeah.
So like they just load me up on, I
I
love
was going to
carbs.
say, we got some juice right here.
I got some golden juice. It's kind of orange golden from Golden Juicery. I'm going to reach over and grab it.
Take a little sip. Well, cheers.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you.
A little ASMR.
Yeah. So, physically prepping there's a lot of stretching. There's a lot of comfort clothes. For Pump House, it was to the point where like every night my shower would clog from the amount of sunscreen coming off of my body. That was insane. But okay, so, the more you do it, the more you kind of like figure out logistics of things. And then you get to a point where like, okay, well, let's challenge it more and then new logistics and whatnot. Right. So
kind of pushing yourself
always,
like physically in each sort of scenario, just kind of almost like for data research for yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And I will go to bed with like this is what I need to work out on the mural next. And I wake up, I painted the mural in my sleep. I dreamt it. I remember my dreams vividly every night. So I'll wake up and be like, all right, like even with Matt's mural, it's like, all right, this is exactly how I paint it. This is what comes first, right? And I will come up to solutions to problems I hadn't even ran into yet while I'm dreaming. I know it sounds like super hokey.
You're probably a very visual person where you can look at a wall, close your eyes, and just kind of already see yourself doing it in a sense.
I will dream that I paint these murals.
Yeah.
Like this mural that's going to go in the next room over from here.
Okay.
We were conceptualizing it, and we had different ideas, right? And it's going to be a pirate themed mural, but like high end pirate, like gold sconces that look like oysters and like things like that, right? Or
So,
not
like-
oysters.
So like Pirates of the
Barnacles.
Caribbean being here, or we like are like up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I hope so. That's the vision. So, I was throwing out ideas of like, what if we're in the middle of a Caribbean port? What if we're inside of a ship? What if like all these different concepts, and we're throwing it all out there. I woke up at 3:00 in the morning and nailed the concept.
Hell yeah.
Woke up at 7, texted the client. I was like, this. And she's like, yes. And I'm like, I kind of like just woke up in the middle of the night and finally figured out what the name for the wood paneling is called, wainscoting. And I think that's what we should do. And she's like, yeah, that's what it's called. That's definitely what we should do. And I was like, I seriously dreamt this and whatever. And she's like, that happens to me too. It's the creativity, like angel dream, whatever. And I was like, yeah, like that's what happens. So the mental prep is just kind of works itself out.
Mm-hmm.
But
as
I'm
far as
always,
like the physical stuff too, that you're stretching, you're just being cautious of like your body, listening to your body, and then just putting the right nutrition in you.
Yeah, I mean, my husband is just fucking awesome, and he'll be like, "Hey, Epsom salt bath, lavender candles. You need to rest."
Oh, dude.
And like, he never shames me. Like, there are days where I'm like, "I'm not getting out of bed," and he's like, "Good on you. I'm gonna go to Publix and work, and you don't get out of bed." I'm like, really? Like, some other people would be like, really? There's dishes. We don't have a dishwasher except for you.
But even like what we were saying before, like a life partner.
Yeah.
Someone for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Sort of thing too.
Yeah. He kind of, okay, so I'm like pretty messy. He told me today, we went to drop off a print to a client's house, and she has a crafting, like a building.
Mm-hmm.
Like her husband has the garage to build stuff. She has a crafting room. It looks like a store. It's like so perfect, right? And my husband in the car is like, there's something about seeing stuff like that that just like honestly makes me happy. Like when I see stuff that's not like that, it makes my mood go down. And I was like, okay, I didn't know you were having such a visceral reaction to my mess. Like now that I know that it truly brings you down, I will try harder. I mean, he organizes all my paint and does dried swatches, whether it's interior, exterior, the name, the brand, whatever. Yeah. So when I have to prep for a mural, and I typically stay in a similar color palette, I like what I like, I will grab those swatches, the 4 boards, and I'll sit there and look from my iPad to the dried swatches and go, okay, these are the 6 colors I need, whatnot. He's organized them all by shelf. I'm like, if it was up to me, I'd be buying multiple of everything, not knowing I still had some. So
teamwork making the dream work.
No, he's a good guy.
So how about even like Golden Juicery? Like that mural is just such an attraction to take selfies in front of, or take pictures in front of. So
I was like, I should have started the story count once they opened of how many people are like, I'm working.
Ethan's crushing it. He's loving it. He's that mural's pops. It's beautiful. I took a portrait of him sitting outside on that little bench area, and then just seeing like your mural pop through the glass. It's so cool.
Oh, thank you.
So even with that, what was your kind of like mental strategy game plan? I mean,
so Ethan had paid for a rendering to come with the whole build out, right? And he showed it to me. I was like, cool mural. Like, commend you just for having a mural within your initial idea of what you should do with the space. A lot of times people start the build out and be like, fuck, we need something else. And then they're like, cool nephews, like, you should get a mural. And they're like, okay. So he had this rendering done, and I was like, totally doable. Let's do it. But also, like, let me play around with some other stuff. Like, I like to give people options. So we have a couple consultations. I was drawing his mural while I was in Spain. And I was just like, yeah, nailing it, running it through. It's fun because my sister, she lives in Atlanta. She was there with me. And like,
oh, sweet.
I just love being around her. My brother and sister were watching me build this mural on my iPad at like, was it Thanksgiving? It was Thanksgiving. I was like, y'all want to build a mural with me?
We're good.
We're good.
We're good.
They're sturdy. They're fresh.
I'm not going to put that by my feet.
So My sister was watching like the whole Golden Juicery mural happen. She's like, yes, yes, love, love, whatever. So we get back, I'm rolling through everything with him, and I just was like, dude, this mural is cool. Like this brings the whole fresh factor
Yeah.
together. Just I want a mural that will like grow with the brand and help their branding, especially if it's a brand new business.
It's
brand,
funny
brand,
because
brand, brand.
Matt kind of even in the design aspect kind of said something that you want something that's timeless a little bit, and
Okay,
not
yes.
only timeless, but will actually just grow with the
With
brand, the
you.
company. Yeah.
Yes. I don't ever want people to be pigeonholed. So like sometimes people will want certain elements and I'm like, it's too trendy. Like even I was designing something for a friend recently, like her real estate business. I was designing her like a seamless pattern, right? And she was like, hey, can you throw a Monstera in there? I was like, no. I was like, there's a Monstera varietal in your pattern. It's right there. But I'm not doing the quintessential Monstera leaf because it's so 2 years ago. It's so cool. I was like, half of the people don't even know that Monstera is a fruiting plant and the fruit is fucking incredible. It tastes like a cotton candy banana kiwi. But all y'all want little tattoos of Monstera and Monstera on this, and you don't even know you can eat it. It's called Monstera deliciosa. It means delicious monster. So creating something for a brand that is of the now but timeless enough to grow with, and something too that if they're opening multiple locations, how does this mural transcend into a new community, a new region? Like imagine
that's a
if
lot to consider. Yeah.
and it's like think about Golden Juicery going to New York, let's say. They're not doing plants on everything.
Yeah.
They'd be like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
The boho plant thing is definitely a South Florida like thing going on right now, but it's still timeless. So always coming up with a mural that then fits their colors, fits everything. Just it's a fun process to be like, look, this is gonna be cool in 5 years.
Yeah.
Not like, why'd I do that? Shit. I don't want them to have to reinvest.
How long did that take you? That one particularly.
That one, I think a week. Those things are big.
Yeah, it was
They're big.
huge. I mean, I don't know anything about drawing and painting. I mean, I love being creative in all aspects, but I can only do stick figures. But looking at it, seeing the wall, didn't really seem like too many challenges or just kind
Super
of obstacles.
straightforward.
Yeah, straightforward.
Super straightforward. I will say though, when I did that mural, there was no running water or air conditioning.
Oh,
So
little hurdle, nice little challenge.
yeah, exactly. And, like I got to sloth harder after that one. So it was honestly great. So the floor wasn't put in on that mural yet, right?
Okay.
Or in that site. So my stepson was with me and we just got done doing this mural. And he's now becoming like a full-time little mural assistant. He gets to pick out his gummy candy as a reward. We get him an array of snacks. We're painting here. There's a fridge. There's a desk. There's comfy chairs. There's cats to play with. He's like, this is amazing. So I was like, hey, we're going to go do this new mural. Let's make sure we pack a cooler. He's like, why? We'll just put our stuff in their fridge. I was like, all right, sounds good.
Luxury, yeah.
Yeah. So like we get there and he's like, what the heck is this? And I'm like, it's fine. So he brought his rollerblades every day.
Oh, fun.
And he would just rollerblade because the
Yeah.
floor wasn't installed. So then he's rollerblading with a fan to fan me while I'm on the lift, on the ladder, whatever, like rolling through with a Gatorade for me, whatever. Just introducing that different way for him to get around. He's like, oh, I got you. Next thing you know, him and I were rollerblade painting together.
Oh, that's fun.
It was super fun. But
Him looking at it finished though, his mind's probably blown.
yeah, we were at
Especially
Papa Kwan's.
starting from like nothing. Oh yeah, and then you've done work for Papa Kwan's. Yeah,
So
that's right.
We painted some Monstera leaves, but that was my idea. I don't know. I do really like them still. So we're painting them on the bathroom door just real quick. Like Joel's the kind of guy where I'm like, hey, you want me to just like throw something here for you real quick? Like, let's do it. Whatever. So like super casual, awesome client. So my stepson is with me at this mural site, and this is probably about a year ago or so. Yeah, a little bit over a year ago. And I had him kind of like unpack all the gear, set up the tripod, get the paint organized, go off of the iPad to figure it out. Like now he does my height and width square foot measurements at consultations. Really trying to just like, it's a very all-encompassing kind of job, tools, math, whatever. So not just a painting side, but him just having that wherewithal to understand some things
Yeah.
in life, you know, like kids these days don't really tape measure that often like we did,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Or even just
so
working with your hands a little
yeah,
bit
it
too,
doesn't
and just
happen as
doing something. Yeah.
often.
Yeah.
I mean, and you think about it too, like I was thinking about everyone he knows lives in an apartment. Like kid doesn't know what yard work is. Could you imagine? Like we buy a house one day and good luck. And we're like, oh, on Saturdays, this is what we do. He would be like, what the fuck is this? So,
That's why I bought enough plants, and that's my yard work.
yeah. So we're at Papa Kwan's after we painted this mural. We're meeting Joel for another small painting real quick. And this guy comes up and he's like, hey, Isaac. And I'm like, how the fuck you know my stepson? And he's like, it's me, Shane, your tennis coach. And he's like, hi. And he looks at me. He's like, hi, are you Isaac's babysitter? And I'm like, no, I am his stepmom. And he's like, totally taken aback, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, so what are you guys doing here? I was like, Isaac helped me paint that mural back there. And he's like, oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So like now Isaac kind of being able to tell people like,
that's
this is
so
what we
cool.
do and
Yeah,
stuff now.
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And
And
moments like that too, just having just like that encouragement, that like affirmation. Even how old is he?
he's 11.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We're in middle. We just started middle school.
Oh, fun.
Oh yeah, we had a great time. So yeah, just trying to instill that like new level of self-confidence, I think, for him, like challenge, reward, self-confidence, whatnot. Like now we're getting to actually like we pay him a little more than just candy.
Yeah.
So then it's like, great, go buy your own new game.
So being a stepmom, businesswoman, practically a teacher at this point, you're really showing the ropes too. How would you describe yourself to somebody, like an elevator pitch? I mean, I always have a struggle with myself where I'm like, I'm a creative. That sounds boring. I'm a audiovisual creator. That's a mouthful. I play music and play with cameras sometimes.
Yeah, you're like, I do a lot. I don't know. Oh man, describe myself. It's hard. I mean, how
Because
often...
calling you a mural artist, I know that's kind of really what you do, but there's so much more.
I mean, okay, so like even when predominantly working from home unless I'm on a mural site, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have my stepson like a lot, just him and I while my husband's working or whatnot. Like being the freelancer, you kind of you become the one facilitating more things because you have more time.
Yeah.
Well, the idea is that you have more time. And so even like stopping to cook dinner, like dinner's got to be a good production because it's another creative form. And it's like a slow
I've
exit.
fallen into that so recently too.
It's awesome. And it's a slow exit out of my creative day. So even if I was like right there in a mural mock-up, like killing it, about to like fully conceptualize it, and I have to stop and make dinner, are you kidding me? It's like, no, let's make something like super funky fun.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, slow ebb from one creative venture into the other, and we're full, we're done. Let's do it again tomorrow. But like describing myself, ooh, hardcore stepmom. Like I stepmom pretty darn hard. I got a lot to give.
Oh yeah.
And just I'm like authentically fully stuck in this building. I'm trying to figure out how to scale my business. Like I got paid.
You're pretty much you're an artist entrepreneur. I'm trying to I'm trying to combine those two words.
Like even muralist, people don't know. I'll be like, I'm a muralist, and
Yeah.
they're like, I don't know what that is.
Exactly. Yeah.
I met this couple from Denver.
They don't know the extent. I mean, what you've done
Yes.
here compared to what you've done at Papa Kwan's, compared to what you've done for the Poratorium at Pump House, they're
different.
they're extremely different.
Yes.
Something that's kind of private, like where we're at right now, something that's very commercial and standard, you can see from fucking space from the Poratorium, and then something at Papa Kwan's too. It's a little bit of character that's almost just kind of like complimentary everything. Then there's
Yes.
Ethan that's like everywhere.
Yes,
So,
like he built the brand off the mural.
Yeah.
So I always I ran into this couple from Colorado that I met a few days ago, and they were like, "Oh, you're a muralist. Your town doesn't have any murals." And I was like, "Oh, here we go again." Yeah, I'm like a fine artist muralist, and it's really hard for me to describe to people. So then I got to show them, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is what you do." I'm like, "Yeah, like I like old crazy wallpapers and like fancy stuff is what I want people to like." There's something much more intimate about doing residential murals versus commercial murals. Like there are some businesses that I will look at and be like, oh my God, they painted a 60-foot mural. It's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And my art mentor should be like, Devin, Nana's 85th birthday is underneath the mural you painted in that living room. That is way more important than creating further consumerism at the fucking Coral Springs Mall. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And so there's just something that like, you're really adding value and memories to somebody's one form of life by doing the more residential private murals and whatnot. But saying I'm a muralist, people either don't know what that is.
Or some outside looking in where it's like, there's not really murals.
There's no murals here. I heard the town of Juno Beach is real strict about stuff. So I always see it as like fine artist, muralist, kind of, I don't know. I'll put my hands into anything.
Yeah.
Like the other day I was saying, I'm trying to figure out how to scale this shit.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes I'm like, I am tired. Like I'm going to chill. But I'm also like, okay, any chill time I have
I can't. It
is
takes
zero
away,
money time.
Yeah, it takes away from that.
So I recently made some prints because I was just like, hey, I really like this drawing. Let's get Matt to print it. Whatever, it's Halloween. We know he loves to spend money on Halloween. So like, let's just give him a little extra business.
There we go.
Got some prints made and I was like cleaning my house and I was like, somebody bought a print. I just got paid to clean my house. This is so cool. So definitely like always still trying to figure out how to authentically grow it. Like there's that whole gatekeeping thing in art that obviously we're all trying to break through. Or just being a creative in general. And if somebody's like, hey, what?
Because I mean, there's levels to anything in business. There's levels to this shit, but it gets to the point where like you feel like you're growing, but then you meet a group of people or just kind of like a collective or even like a business where it's just almost like trying to suppress you. It's like you're obviously trying to grow, but no, you are just a muralist or you're just this type of person, sort of thing.
So just like a lot of people are doing the get my course, do this, and I'm like, I don't know. All you have to do is like message me. I'll send you like 30 videos on everything I do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to go down that route.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down the learn from me.
Well, like,
learn from me if you want.
I have something that's kind of separated. Like I have like this magic token sort of thing. I'm going to speak very vaguely. You can buy my book in the lobby.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's like, how do you scale an art business?
Which is like, kind of brings me into like my next kind of question about like the relationship with social media too. Because I mean, we've had private conversations about just how people kind of display themselves and it's influencers. It's pretty interesting. But even kind of you talking about,
I yelled at you that one day about it. I was on a rampage and I was on Pump House.
Yeah,
I was like,
probably working.
I have something to say. You were like driving and I made you stop the car.
I'm like, I'm not doing nothing cool.
You were like, I have like 2 minutes. I was like, well, I need 12. I need to talk to you right now. Social media.
But even meeting that couple that from Colorado, where you're just like, let my work be an example to show you, so you can kind of have that moment to click.
Yeah.
So I mean, social media being that beautiful thing that you're able to kind of really showcase your work, bridge it to the general public, but then also it's kind of all the funny bullshit with it, where it's just like, well, what is exactly or all like the fakeness.
So I know that I'm never going to stop being like ridiculous me, which is also going to like maybe turn a few people off to my art page because they're like, hey, just wanted to see art. Didn't want to hear you talk about this like weird thing all day. And I'm like, too bad. I need to talk about it. Also went from like being in very social environments for a really long time with like past jobs and such to now pretty like solo venture. I talk to a lot of clients, obviously, but it's kind of like when I see my best friend, I'm like, I've only been drawing for 4 days. Hello, I don't know what to say. I've got a lot of things to say. I'm very weird right now. And she's just like, okay, we're a raccoon coming out of the dumpster. It's totally fine. So my relationship with social media is like this thing where I know I could get a lot better at it. I know I could. I know that I could really give them what they want, but like I can't. Like if you want me to be on there, it's got to be what it is.
Right.
Like now.
It's just showcasing your work pretty much.
And me at the same time, like I'll always share like different personal things. Like I follow some artists who I'm like, I don't even know what they like to eat. I want to know. I want to know what you want to eat. I want to know like the weird things about people.
Yeah.
Just because it's like another way to connect.
Yeah.
You know, like I love mayonnaise. People who follow me know that I love mayonnaise, and they send me texts when Duke's mayonnaise is BOGO at Publix.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, this is the kind of relationship that I want with my people. But I enjoy making the silly reels and stuff. Like I bought all those bird masks. Like, please borrow them for your next music video.
I definitely need to.
You more than welcome to.
Do you have
please.
5?
I'll get more. I have a pigeon, a flamingo, a macaw, I also have a poodle. I have a Sasquatch costume, but I have so 3 bird ones currently, but totally happy to get more. I'll just expense it. I'm an artist.
You freaking write it out.
Fine. So yeah, 2 more. Heard.
Oh yeah.
Pigeon one's totally my favorite. But so like making wacky content does make me really happy because in the prior past lives, I was ziplining in Yellowstone in my Sasquatch costume because that's what I wanted to fucking do, you know? And so now I'm like, oh, there's a weird niche for this kind of content, I guess. Not that it's not really helping show my art because it's just a weird
But
pigeon.
it's showing your personality,
Yeah.
and that's really kind of what gravitates, makes and breaks between this person or that person. Well, this person has a personality. I can connect with that. I can gravitate towards that. And also, their product is fucking awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the relationship is
You're almost at
I don't-
2,000. You're almost at 2,000
I'm like,
followers.
4 away!
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so funny. So my husband is like, he just always is like, babe, I'm the biggest fan. So today he was like, just so you know, you're only 4 followers away. And like half of my posts, I don't
amazing.
even use hashtags. Like, I'm just
Hashtags are broken.
that's
now.
what I think
Yeah.
too. And I was like, are you using the right hashtags?
No,
I'm like,
don't.
fuck
Yeah.
you. Like I don't like I finally figured out how to block the promoted on this comments. Do you
Yeah.
know how to
Yeah,
go in
yeah.
that? And like I hid those, like you can't say promote
The spam.
yeah,
Yeah.
those never show up anymore. So I'm like, ooh, I learned something. But yeah, it's all organic
Yeah.
always, you know.
Well, that was the thing. Even talking before when I was kind of sharing with you that I spoke at a digital media conference, and because the panel I was on, they talked about growing followers, and it felt so weird because I had like a little short spew of something lucky. I mean, for those who do remember Musicians Daily, I just came up with a concept. I wanted to be very consistent on a brand and idea of just sharing about musicians. Grew a following, got asked to speak on this panel about growing followers, and it just didn't feel...
They asked you to speak about
Yeah,
growing
yeah,
followers.
yeah.
You're
So
like,
I was-
wait, I have so much more to talk about than that,
Well, the
right?
thing was, I'm like, you don't really want to grow followers. You want to create an audience.
Okay.
You want people to have that interaction. You want people to text you when there's a mayonnaise sale.
Yeah,
Because they
I
know,
do.
yeah, not rather than just kind of having a blindly. Because when I think of followers, I think of just people that blindly follow you just because of monkey see, monkey do sort of thing, rather
Right,
than just
right.
like very gravitated to the artist, the actual person, the individual themselves. And also, I was trying to put myself on a certain way because I was speaking with people who were talking about 6-figure brand deals, who were talking about like they would travel to Budapest and they had 500,000 followers. And I mean, I have a good relationship with some of the people
Fancy
on the,
hotels.
I was very like, how did I even get here? So even kind of relating that to you.
I mean, do you feel like you're in a room that you're like, how did I get in this room? So many times as a creative, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But then I got to sit back and look, and it's almost like a mental tug of war game too, with like the light and the dark, where it's just like, if I give that much attention to that side where I'm like, why am I here? Is this like, these people think like I need new pants. these are pilling. I don't like, it's just like spiraling out of control rather than just like, I'm here for a reason. There shouldn't. This is not by an accident. I really don't believe that there is an accident. There's a reason why I am here, because I have something to say and prove, and I have
Right.
value.
Right.
And that's kind of why the whole thing, I started this podcast of just sitting with creatives that I really value their work ethic and just like what they're able to produce and just what they're able to just communicate and kind of express and connect with the world and other people.
Yeah.
So even with you, what do you currently working on now?
Okay, so we're doing the pirate ship mural
Yeah.
here next. And that's like another fine art mural, so super stoked on that. And then let's see. Sorry. Okay. Costa sunglasses.
Yeah. Oh, the word. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have this paper gouache painting that's very like de Gournay wallpaper being installed tomorrow and has museum glass going over that. So like super excited to see the end of that project, because that one's been in the works for a while. In talk with Loggerhead Marinas. So did work for the Marine Life Center. Now in talk with the Marina, because they operate under the same brand.
Okay.
So they want murals at each of their Florida locations.
Oh my gosh, you got your work cut out for you.
Sea turtles and mahi-mahis all day long.
So on top of the physical work that you have kind of coming up. Is there anything that you're trying to do with your business or what you would like to do?
Okay. So I have this one thing I really want to do. There's a lot of shit I want to do with my business, but I do so much with the business that I've recently discovered just life of an artist. Being like, I get to paint with my friends because it's what we like doing.
Yeah.
So that's great. And like, I get to go experience this moment because it's going to help artist brain, right? So just enjoying living that side of life. But, so not necessarily like art business goals. I make them. I reach them when I can. Then more shit comes on the plate. Like I'm still in the constantly learning, constantly pivoting phase. So like I don't know if I'm like wording this properly, but I don't have to set that many goals with it because it's always each job is a different location, a different wall structure, a different environment, a different in design. Like just recently got this new brush that I was like, this brush changed my life. Candid Coffee, the husband Brian, it's Megan and Brian. So Brian had painted their logo at their first location as a mini mural on the wall. And he was like, I told him, I was like, your blue, like your signature blue is one of the least opaque blue paints. Like I feel your pain. And you also, he did like established like this, like things on a curve.
Right.
It's a warehouse wall. It's not a fucking nice wall. You know, like I know what he went through. And I sent them a video of me painting their logo because I have this magic brush.
Yeah.
And now I will design the logo size to be either the same size, twice the size, or times the size of the width of the brush. So it's just like doing the work for me, right? And I sent them the video and they're like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, it's not me. It's the brush. But okay, so my goal. So art goals, as far as like business goals, they're always challenges are coming up before I can even imagine that like, hey, let's like reach that new challenge. So what I want to do as an artist, I'm obsessed with nouns of assemblage. Like a gaggle of geese,
Okay.
a shiver of sharks,
Yeah.
a parliament of owls, a coalition of cheetahs. I love this shit, right? It just makes me laugh. Really like animals, really, you know. I want to do a series of paintings of animals in their assemblage noun. It's like an old, I think it was made in 1486.
It's like when the dogs are playing poker.
It's like, okay, so all of these men, these huntsmen, and the book was called The Book of Albans. It was published in 1486, I believe. And when they were at dinner parties, they wanted to be able to talk about animals that they hunted in a fancy way. They wanted to sound cooler than they were.
Okay.
So they kind of just like got really wine or mead, whatever it was at that point, drunk, and were like, I'm gonna call this and whatever, and it's stuck.
Yeah.
The book is still like, you can still like get a reprint of the book today. And so I want to paint a coalition of cheetahs in like dogs playing poker, like you were saying.
Yeah.
I want to do a parliament of owls with like dusty old wigs, like making decisions and whatnot. So
And just throw it on like a canvas.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I want to do like a whole series of that. And then okay, so
I was gonna say put that on someone's wall.
yeah,
That is
yeah. So like getting
Acquired
like,
taste.
definitely not a mural. So then the Hieronymus Bosch Garden of Earthly Delights, right? Favorite painting ever. I want to take that painting, and you got to look it up, man. I want to turn it into a Florida version. So like there's a fountain in the middle, right? I want to make it the Fountain of Youth. And I want Ponce de Leon died on an island with like a wound that was poisoned from an arrow. I believe it was a slash pine poison. Like Florida's first export was turpentine. It's made from slash pines. I'm like, yo, I want a canoe with Ponce in it with like a wound in the Fountain of Youth. That's the fountain in the middle of the Hieronymus Bosch painting, and like a gator eating a human instead of like a weird alien creature thing that Bosch
very
did.
Florida.
I want to turn the whole thing into Florida history moments.
Is there any like copyright law or legal
Fuck
sort
that.
of thing? Yeah.
Whatever. Like, come on. They don't even know who like Bosch was.
That's a good
There's
point.
this whole thing where like nobody knows what he looked like. A lot of his works, I don't know if it was him or somebody who studied under him or whatnot, but like whatever. They're never gonna. I'm not that big. But if somebody takes that idea that I just did and gets to the Bosch Florida painting before I did,
we have this.
you fucking listen to this, and I know you took it from me.
We have this.
Nobody else is gonna spend 150 hours doing that just for the sake of being an artist. But those are like my
Have you kind of visualized any of that stuff too, or just
oh,
kind of
I
put a
have
pen
a
to paper?
list.
Okay.
I have a list of things. It's growing. I have a lot of Florida history books that I'm gonna like go back into, dig, pull little things out of. But the I guess like point being on a broader scheme, goals are just making more art for the sake of me wanting to make the art because I'm really lucky that like right away when I was like, hey, I'm making art, like showed people I was making art, they're like, great, we'd like your art. And I was like, oh, okay. And like
It took you a while to get to that point,
no,
right?
it like happened like the second I was like, hey, here's art, people were like, great, I want it. And I was like, what do you mean? We were supposed to be like starving artist stereotype for a few years so I could
Yeah.
like work it out without people seeing me work it out. Like I don't want to learn these challenges and learn these lessons in front of these clients. I
Yeah.
want to like learn it on my own and then like come out when I'm ready. So the past 2 years of running this business, there's been a lot of like running the business and making that commission based custom art that I get to paint a bird every once in a while for myself, but I really want to go a little weird with the nouns of assemblage animals and just things in general that I want to paint for no purpose at all other than my urge to paint it. So that's like the goal.
If an artist, muralist, creative, any person that really listened to this from A to Z, the whole thing, what is one thing you want them to kind of take from your experience and your journey? Because from initially first meeting you, I kind of just assumed that you've just been just like art, just like
Always, right.
always, but kind of getting to know you a little bit more and just kind of seeing this progression. And I mean, you've always had this courage and just to kind of do what you do. So any sort of tips and advice for people who just want to do this, but if courage is something that they're kind of lacking or just kind of don't know even how to kind of pour it out?
Okay, so I make mistakes like in front of the clients. Like it's not that back to that. I'm not in the studio being like, that looks fucking ugly.
Yeah.
Like let's rework, let's let it dry, revamp, toss it, whatever. When you're painting a mural, like I sit on a paint can lid all the time and it will be stuck to my butt. And I am now like, oh, that's great. Or like, you're going to knock shit over.
Yeah.
You're going to make mistakes. And it's typically within someone else's property that you're making those mistakes. And like, it's going to be okay. Like that, just being able to forgive yourself as an artist when you're in other people's space all the time or making custom work. Like even today, I had a client who's like, hey, I'm just a little unsure about this part of this painting that you delivered. And I was like, all right, what the option A, option B, option C, I can be there tomorrow. I can be there today if you really need me, but I can be there tomorrow. And she's like, I just don't know how I feel about it. I was like, if you don't know how you feel about it, that means you're not happy and I do not accept. Went in today, was like, here we go. Here's pictures. I want a confirmation before I leave because I'll come back. I don't give a shit, but I want her to really know. And I guess, I'll teach any mural artist anything they want to know. Notorious for you ask. And like I said, you get 30 videos of my favorite varnishes, brushes, whatever. But just knowing that it's okay to like still love everything you're doing and who you are at the end of the day, even though you're the one personally making these mistakes. It's not like you're in a job where you're like, oh, well, because of this and that, this fell on me. You're like, no, this is all me. This is all my responsibility. I still need to find sleep, even if I have crippling anxiety from something stupid I did on a job or said or whatever. And I guess just like finding that it's almost easier to be nice to yourself when you're an entrepreneur as opposed to not, because you still got to live with yourself and be happy every day and know that like you're doing what you love. So you're going to fuck up. So I don't know, but if people want to know stuff, I'll tell you anything. I'll teach you everything I know.
Where can they find you?
On the Instagram, Devin Noel Design.
Yeah, help her get her to 2,000
Oh
followers.
my God, I'm so close. It would be really cool.
Whenever this is going to be released, I don't know.
It's all good.
This is the most professional.
Who knows?
podcast.
I could sit on those 4 follower that lack right there. I mean, I hit 1,890. I was like, 10 left. I was like, you're missing 110, dumbass. But yeah, Devin Noel Designs. My website is devinnoel.com. I'm on TikTok. I don't really know how to use it. I just follow this one guy who rates people's houses, celebrities' homes.
Oh,
He goes through and he's like, listen, Gwyneth Paltrow, you're fucking weird. And I'm like, this is incredible. So
there's so much
TikTok,
there.
Instagram, Facebook, it's all Devin Noel Designs. Reach out, say hi. I like talking, obviously. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
No,
your time.
Jacob, thank you, man. Oh, I appreciate you so much. This is super fun.
We freaking did it.
We did it.
We did it.
Oh my God. I only burped like twice.